So hello, good people of the internet. This is Tommy Kelly, and this is, of course, the Tommy Kelly podcast. And you may notice a slight sound discrepancy from the previous podcast. Well, maybe you don't, but I'm hoping it's not too much of a difference. And what I'm doing is I'm actually sitting up in what we call the yoga room, which is the spare room that has where we do the yoga, where I do my meditation, and where my weight bench and all my weights and stuff are. And what's going on is I'm trying to come up with a system for doing the podcast that doesn't involve me sitting in front of the computer. And when I'm sitting in front of the computer, it's good because I have my proper audio input. I have my good mic, my SM58. I have the Line 6 sound card thing, the portable, the KB37, I think it's called. And there's good quality thing like that. But the problem is that the house is getting noisier and noisier, and there's less time I have where there's just no one in the house, or there's just not some sort of noise. And that's only going to get worse when the baby arrives. Because Vanessa is going to be home more, obviously. There's going to be a baby, which, are known to be the quiet things, not known for being quiet things. And also, starting in September again, the preschool that Vanessa runs from the other end of the house. It's a couple of doors down, like we have in the hugest house right at the other end of the house. On the other wing of the house, the preschool, but it's just down from down the street, just down the road a bit. Our house is so big, it's on the road, that it's and that there's the bathrooms that they use is right beside mine, and also it gets really noisy. And she has hired someone, so she can have maternity leave. So there's going to be more people in the house, and I'll never have time on my own ever again. I've made a huge mistake. So what I had to do is find some way of getting a kind of a portable setup. And what I did was, rather than buying one of those Zoom H1N1s, whatever it is, that's the zombie game, or something like that, a portable recorder. I wanted something that I didn't want to be carrying loads of stuff around, So this is another reason why I got the good phone, which is the Moto C, the new phone I got. It's a good phone for me. I know phone connoisseurs probably don't think it's a great phone, but it's a previous generation and all that too. But it's a massive step up from my last phone, which is like €100, €140 something phone. And so I said, well, what I could do is I can do my vlogs on that. I can do the videos because there's a 4K camera on it, and there's a 1080 selfie camera, but it has you can get that to 60 frames a second. You can do slow-mo, all these things. So it's really good on the video side as well. If I can just carry that around and have it then also as my recorder. And I tried recording stuff on the voice recorder previously for the podcast. It's the one where I was out at the church, the one St. George's Day. Or maybe it might be St. George's Day, but it was definitely at the church when I did it. And there was kind of dropouts and stuff like that, which I assume was more my phone. But also the quality wasn't great because I was using the inbuilt microphone on it. So I have a number of microphones. I have a lapel one, which this is the one I'm using now, which I had for the DSLR, the big camera I got. And I have another one, which is the actual official Nikon one as well. But the lapel one would be good because it means then I'm not aware of the microphone because I just stick it on my t-shirt or whatever. The problem then, of course, is that you can't just plug microphones straight into phones, it seems, because that would just be far too easy. Because of the way it is, depending on the microphone, depending on your phone, and of course iPhones and Android phones are wired the complete opposite way. There's a thing in sound where there was in sound engineering stuff where there's certain types of bastards out there who decide, that didn't have consistency, that I said, if one people are doing it this way, if we're wiring tip to sleeve, we're doing it the complete opposite. And it seems to have carried over into phones as well. So if you plug, first of all, you have to get a microphone that will work with your Android or your iPhone, depending on what you're doing. And of course, I have Android. And it's to do with, when you see in the headphones, the socket that you actually plug in and there's rings around it. That's the important thing. 2 of them is stereo, 3 of them means there's a mic. So if you have the stereo headphones with the, the built-in mic, you should have three dots, 3 lines, 3 rings. But if you just plug in a microphone on its own, it doesn't sync up properly with the phone. The phone just thinks you're stuck in headphones or crap headphones at that as well, because I can't sound any sound to this. And it's speakers and headphones and speakers and microphones are all the exact same thing. Like you can use a speaker as a microphone as a speaker. In theory, it doesn't work out, but that's the kind of principle of it. So it should be a lot easier than it is. But what I had to do was I had to get like a splitter, a Y splitter. So it's like a thing that plugs into the phone that comes out in its two sockets, one for headphones and one for the microphone. And once I plugged that in, it worked fine. I had the quality more than just talking into the phone. So hopefully by doing this test run, it'll turn out that it's practical to use. And then I can go out of the house, find somewhere quiet, and actually do the podcast undisturbed, which will, two things: get the podcast done in the craziness that my life is about to come, and to get some headspace and get, some me time, whatever, because I go quite a bit weird and crazy if I don't spend a lot of time on my own, which can be quite annoying for people who are around me, because it feels like I'm kind of dissing them, or I just need to be away from you, and it's not. I need to be away from everything. I need to be on my own, and I need to have my own company an awful lot, and I really enjoy that. Now, of course, I wouldn't want this all the time. It's not that it's a thing that I crave or I want to be off on a desert island. For the most part, mostly, it'd be nice if you could live on one side of an island all on your own, and every now and again, when you so choose, you could go and hang out in the bar or the other side or something. But it's just that whole thing of the introvert-extrovert thing, where introverts recharge the batteries by being on their own, and extroverts recharge their batteries by being around other people. So I'm definitely an introvert, need to recharge my batteries around myself. But there's also that thing, is that it's much easier to be on your own. Life is an awful lot less complicated when you're not interacting and being around people, or, because people are so easily, I was going to say offended's not the word, but it's so complicated and so easy to break people. And you can say the wrong things and you can do all these things. There's just an awful lot to be on your mind constantly, I find, anyway. So that when you're on your own, you don't have to worry about all those things. And there's a whole part of my brain that just switches off. And I have an awful lot of social anxiety anyway. Or at least I tell myself I do, and I act that way. Whether I do or not is, I don't know, for someone else to decide. Or not. So that whole part of my brain that can switch off when it's on my own, that doesn't need to be on high alert and doesn't need to be, go, or in protect mode or flight, gets totally disengaged when I'm on my own. So it's something I'm going to have to be very aware of and very careful about when the baby arrives, and when there's the added element of not getting as much sleep as I used to get. Just according to all the horror stories that people like telling you when you're pregnant or going to have a baby. So I have to be, I do turn to the dark side, and the black dog does visit me an awful lot. So I have to be extra careful about, that's my phone beeping. I should have turned that off, but I'm not going to touch the phone while I'm recording in case everything falls apart. But yeah, so I have to be extra careful about looking after my mental health in a kind of a situation where I'm going to have less time on my own, and I'm going to have less sleep. They're the two big triggers of me. If I don't get enough sleep and I don't get enough time on my own, Tommy becomes a very, very unhappy boy. And it's not like I need 15 hours sleep a day or whatever. Like, I go to bed quite early, usually between, say, 9:30 and 10. But I'll read then from 10 until like 12:30 or 1 o'clock at night. So while I'm in bed, I am resting, but I'm reading. And then I'm getting up about 7:30, 8 o'clock, 8:30 recently. Actually, recently it's been really weird, because I've been waking up, and it just constantly feels, no matter what time I wake up at, whether it's early, late, or I have a lie-in, that it feels like, when you get up at like 4 o'clock in the morning because you have to go to the airport or something, and you just know, I've not had enough sleep, this isn't right, something's going on. It just feels like that all the time when I'm getting up. So I don't know what that's about. Like, that's not a good sign if that's happening before the baby arrives. But the other thing is that, so getting out there, and getting out of the house and getting some time on my own, and be able to do the podcast and all of those things is something that I need to address, one from the podcast side, but two from the mental health side. And I was thinking that I could get out maybe in the car and just sit somewhere and record, possibly do my meditation out in the car as well, just somewhere to get out. Or if the weather's permitting, get out on the bike and cycle somewhere, and there's a place out the road where there's kind of it was in one of the vlogs from last year, where you go out the road and there's kind of an opening in the trees on the side of the road, and you can sit in there, but it'd be quite noisy too with cars come past. But let's see, the church, the St. George Church, the Richardstown Church that I'm very fond of, would be a perfect place to do it, other than there's no roof on it. And so if it's raining, you're just going to be sitting there getting drenched. So you might do that once, but you're certainly not going to be doing it every week. And I'd say it'd be quite echoey and noisy out there too. So I have to find somewhere that ticks all the boxes in these things. Gives me my alone time. Tommy needs his alone time. Gives me peace and quiet, distraction-free environment, but also isn't a noisy, noisy ambient noise kind of thing. But I will work it out, and it'll all come true. Now, talking about generating content and stuff, there's another thing that happened recently over the weekend, previous to this one. Was it? Sometime in the last week, it was the previous weekend, and on Patreon, I lost a number of subscribers very quickly around the one time. And this normally happens at the end of the month anyway, or at different times anyway. People just, pull out before they have to pay the next month's thing or whatever. But it was significant in the fact that it was a high number of people. It was like 4 or 5 within an hour or 2 hours of each other. Enough that it made me take notice or whatever. And I was kind of thinking that in one sense, my approach to Patreon is sound, and another it's not sound, in that there is elements of the Patreon that you only have access to if you're a patron, such as the journey, that whole meditation thing, shadow walking stuff that I constantly bang on with. But other than that, everything I post up, whether it be the podcast early or videos or whatever, eventually becomes free. And I can understand why people will go, well, why am I paying money for stuff that I eventually will get? Anyway, particularly if they're not getting in on the journey, or not interested in that, or not doing it, or falling behind on it, or just generally aren't interested. So there's the big kind of balance thing that's going on, where you have to try your best not to put everything you do behind a paywall, because I don't like that, and I don't think that's... Ultimately, it's a closed circuit in that if you put everything behind a paywall, you're limiting yourself to the people who are in that wall, and the word, it's hard to travel out. It's hard to get new customers. If customers is not the right word, but this probably is the right word if you had a business brain. So it's it's kind of closed system then at that point. But so you have to do some sort of free or content or whatever. But the other side of that is you also have to reward the people who are actually supporting you. And I think to a large extent, I wasn't rewarding enough the patrons who were supporting me. I was kind of thinking that, well, the journey stuff is a great thing, and that's a bonus that's only there for that, and people can hang around. But not there's 71 patrons as I record this. Again, my phone. And I would say there's definitely less than 10 of them doing the journey, and there's less than 5 of them who are consistently interacting with me about the journey stuff. So that's a very low percentage of the people who are actually supporting me on Patreon who are actually doing the exclusive patron stuff. So essentially they're just giving money to me for stuff that everyone else is kind of get. So that's what kind of thoughts that came to me when I lost a number of patrons. That I need to kind of up my Patreon game. And what I've decided to do is do an awful lot more exclusive content for patrons. Over on Patreon that will only ever be available over there, and not have it where it's out on a Monday on Patreon, and then Thursday, the rest of the world gets it. Just only if you're part of the Patreon. Not to put stuff behind the paywall, but as a kind of reward or thank you very much to the people who are actually giving me their hard-earned money. So I think it's fair, and I know people are going to not enjoy that. Because, there's the whole element of things. Everything should be free, and, the internet has made us believe that everything should be free, or at least downloadable in some sort of a legal way anyway. Ultimately to where things have no worth, that like TV shows has it any worth in the way that, you can just torrent them or whatever. And I know some people don't think that way at all, and they think that very much of Wharton would never torrent a thing or download anything illegal. Especially with Netflix and stuff, it's kind of changed. But there is that still culture of everything should be free. And in magic and occult circles, very much books and information, and that whole backlash you always constantly get with when someone, offers teaching or writes a book or, does a video course that isn't free, where people go, everything should be free, all of this, the occult should be free, all of magic should be free. It's usually because they don't want to pay for it, or they don't have the money a lot as well. And I find that quite frustrating, but I also understand it. And I enjoy paying for stuff. I enjoy giving back and all of that kind of things, because it's rewarding for me too. Like, I mean, that thing of paying your tithes, the church thing where you give 10% or whatever to the church or whatever. I think there's something in that. There's certainly, if you want to go by what I've talked about before about, blocking your flow of energy, man, in life, tithing or giving away some money has certainly opened the flow again for me in certain different financial things. If say things had been a bit tight financially or whatever, like giving some money away to someone or seems to have an effect on that in some way. Whether of course that's just mental or whatever, or coincidence, is neither here nor there, because it's consistently enough happened that it's a thing I can do to engage, to get rid of a blockage of something. And I also like being able to support other people, because it seems like a good thing to do if you're asking people to support you, and not in a I'm an awesome way, in a very selfish way, in like as all of this stuff is for Tommy, who talks now about himself in the third person. It's good for you. Like, charity is good. It's like, I'll tell you, one of my favorite stories about charity is it's not that long ago. Me and Vanessa went up to see a guy called Jack L, who is a singer, songwriter, entertainer. He's wonderful. He's a great voice, all of that kind of things. We went up to see him in Dublin, and on the way back, we said, "Oh, we'll get a pizza." And it's a big thing enough for us, because we try to eat as healthy as much as possible. That I'm going to have some junk food here, and great. So then we ordered, and we said, "Oh, we'll have 2 slices, no big slices." And that was going to work out at 4 slices, the 2 each. And the guy behind says, "Well, if you just get the 6 slices, it works out cheaper, get the whole pizza, whatever." So, but when it came out, it was a huge, big 16-inch monstrosity. And we sat down and had 1 slice each. I went, "Oh my God, I'm stuffed. I can't have any more." And so we just went round and, started giving the pizza to homeless people. And if you ever want to feel good about yourself, or you ever want to see joy in someone else's eyes or whatever, go and buy a pizza and go around and give it to people who need it. Like, it's hard to talk about in a sense, because you're sounding shallow and you should never talk about charity and all that. But it's like, the reward, when people say, what's the reward, isn't doing it. And it does make you feel good. And it does make you feel good that you have change someone's life, even if it's just for 10 minutes or whatever, and you've done something nice and all that. And then after an hour, you don't care, and you're back to your rotten, dark, miserable self, and the world no longer loves you and all that stuff. But even from a pure selfish point of view, charity, it can make you feel better, and it's, how did I get to there? That's interesting. Oh yeah, so we were talking about the Patreon stuff. The other upside of doing exclusive stuff for Patreon is that I can be a bit more open and a bit more relaxed about what I talk about, because in the podcast, when they're quite public and they're there for anyone, you kind of have to be, in a sense, a bit more reserved about what you talk about, because anyone can listen to it, and you're going to have people who just listen to one random podcast and have comments and have things to say about it, whether to be good or bad or whatever, and you kind of have to be aware of all that. Whereas when you're doing stuff from, say, talks or whatever, videos for Patreon, people already know who you are, they know what you're into, you're talking to a crowd that are already in some way convinced by your ideas, or at least have the same kind of interests in you enough that they've paid some money to support you. So you can be, you're starting at a different kind of place where you can, get a bit more into depth into different things. And, like, people would have the vocabulary of say, the occult or magic, or, the basic ideas that people would know when you talk about, say, Gordon White or Alan Chapman or Pete Carroll or chaos magic or sigils or servitors, that already know all these things that you're talking about without having, to feel that you somewhat have to explain what you're talking about in the whole Stanley thing of that every comic is someone's first comic. Every podcast I do essentially could be someone's first podcast, or at least the first time they've ever heard of me, or magic, or servitors, or any of the things I talk about. So I'm looking forward to doing that kind of stuff, where and it'll just be very, very simple types of, talking head stuff, perhaps a couple of more put together vlogs or kind of things. But it's not going to be things like the 40 Servants video course. That'll always be free. That'll be on I'm going to say that's always be free, but who knows what will happen in the future. Perhaps I will turn into an evil paywall man and put everything behind the paywall. Because why I say that is because there was a free photography thing that I was following on YouTube, and the guy took them all down and put them all on Udemy. And fair dues to them, they're really well done, and you should pay money first. But so maybe that's something that Tommy will do in the future. I can't imagine so from this point of view, but you never know. So I'll never say never, and on that, in case it bites me in the arse sometime in the future. But I am looking forward to doing kind of stuff where I can just talk more open about it as well. The other thing we're going to be doing on Patreon is we're going to be doing group rituals. I'm going to do one every week, and we're going to do it on a Wednesday, and it will involve everyone getting together at an appointed time, using a symbol that will connect everyone together, an exclusive Patreon symbol for patrons only, and doing stuff for the good of all of the people involved. And that's something that's starting this Wednesday. So I'm really looking forward to that, because the group rituals we have done before previously in the 40 Servants group itself have been always well received and seem quite powerful for people who've got a lot of stuff out of it. So it'll be good to see how an ongoing group ritual will work. And again, it's something that gives an extra bonus to people who are part of the Patreon as well. So looking forward to that. So this is kind of just going to be this is one of the shorter podcasts, because it is, and that's how it is. It's coming in at just over 20 minutes. But there's just a few things I wanted to just talk about and where I'm at and try and test out this new system and stuff. So I don't want to go on much longer in case this isn't actually recording and all of that, and I have to do it 10 times as is my usual. So hopefully this has recorded and it's all good. So yeah. So that was the Tommy Kelly podcast coming from the yoga room. And if you would like to hear more of this type of stuff, it's usually it's usually a bit more interesting, but that's me going back into my, as I've talked before, about apologising for the podcast that has just happened, in that it's not interesting enough for you. It is what it is. This is what I do here. I ramble and I talk mostly about myself and what I'm doing, in the hope that I become better at doing podcasts and become a better person by unravelling all the bullshit and idiotic thoughts and ideas and stuff that I have in my mind, or all the false appearances that I go through, that we all go through, but I can only speak from my own perspective and trying to go through my shadow stuff and all that. It also has my opinions on magic and where I'm at with all of that kind of thing. So if you want to hear more of that, then go to TommyKellyPodcast.com, and the whole thing is there. It actually brings you to a page on adventuresinwoowoo.com, which also has the podcast. In fact, adventuresinwoowoo.com is probably the place, the one place that if you just want to, where's one place where I could find all of Tommy's stuff, then if you go to adventuresinwoowoo.com, you will find all of Tommy's stuff. It has the magic primer, or primer as some people pronounce it, which I really am aiming to get more parts. It's a time factor, but if you're new to magic, then that will point you in all the directions you could possibly need, from talking about chaos magic, sigils, servitors, to banishing, to all of those things. There's loads of video links, there's loads of book links, book suggestions, blogs, all of that stuff. So it's a good starting ground. I basically put that together because people ask me the question so much: where's a good place to start? And now I just have somewhere to point them. So I've added to it there recently, not that long ago, and all the links and all that should be as up to date as possible. If they're not, let me know. Also there you will find everything you could possibly want to know about the 40 Servants, which is a magic and divination system that I created a year and a half ago now at this stage, slightly longer. And that's what I'm probably most known for. and there's whole sections there where you can use it for free if you so desire, from the magic and divination aspects of it. There's also how to start working with it, loads of different blog posts about it, and then there's the links to actually buying it, the book itself, the deck, the different versions of the deck, the altar cards, the t-shirts, and all of that kind of stuff. If you want to check out my photography, which is the Chaos Magic and art section of what I do, then you can find me on Instagram, which is @TommyKelly, and I'm also on Twitter, which is @TommyKelly. I'm on Facebook, Tommy Kelly Artist, and there's a 47th Facebook group which you should check out if that's what you're into. There's an Adventures in Moebius Facebook page. There's all of these things. They will all be in adventuresmoebius.com. Links to it will all be there. So, good people of the internet, what shall I bless you with this week? May things that you have going on, may they become greater, and may you find that things that you find that are the simplest things in your life give you the most joy. May they increase. May your life become so much better, not because of new things, or not because things have, new things enter your life, or new adventures, right? Like that, just but the things that you have, may they increase in value to you, and may you see them in a much better light, and a much more interesting and loving light, so that your entire life becomes better. May you hold on to what is dear to you, and may what's dear to you hold on to you tightly. So, good people of the internet, I will talk to you all next week, so be well.